In 1939, Bill Monroe picked his cover of Jimmie Rodgers' Mule Skinner Blues on the Grand Ole Opry, thus unknowingly triggering the start of bluegrass. This music, originally meant for white Appalachian men, grew into a popular genre which is now enjoyed by people of all backgrounds. In a similar vein to women and African Americans, lesbian, gay, bi, and trans people were not overtly included in the formative years of bluegrass, but in the past few decades have begun asserting their presence in the genre. To understand the history of how the LGBT community became intertwined with the bluegrass and country genres, it's important to start from the beginning. In the 30s and the 40s, the LGBT community was largely invisible because of national laws that outlawed sodomy. In the 50s, Americans began publicly addressing homosexuality through radio and TV shows, but many of the portrayals weren't positive. LGBT bluegrass players undoubtedly existed during these early years, but played under the guise of heterosexuality for their own safety and well-being. Silas House, a gay native of rural Kentucky, explained the complex relationship between America, Appalachia, and homosexuality.
Appalachia is the very belt buckle of the Bible Belt. Perhaps that is why so many people here feel more comfortable being openly homophobic, largely due to existing within that buckle. But I know that these kinds of injustices exist everywhere, and by claiming that it's worse in Appalachia, we let the rest of the country off the hook. Hatred, inequality, and unfairness exist everywhere.
It wasn't until the folk revival of the 60s and 70s that the bluegrass and LGBT community would meet in a public space. The folk revival addressed issues such as civil rights, war, and counterculture, some of which related to the struggles of the gay community, especially the Stonewall riots of 1969. These riots, centering around a gay bar in New York, were led by trans people of color, drag queens, homeless youth, and others who fought back against unfair and targeted police raids. This kicked off the beginning of gay pride parades and a very open fight for LGBT rights. Patrick Haggerty, known as the first openly gay country artist, released 1,000 copies of an album called Lavender Country in 1973, the same year that Hazel and Alice released Won't You Come Sing For Me.
I'm back in the closet again, back where I ain't got a friend.
As bluegrass progressed into the 80s and 90s, the genre was ever more broadly defined by sound, audience reception, and image. Simultaneously, LGBT musicians were gaining recognition through newly established award ceremonies like the Gay Lesbian American Music Awards, which was founded in 1995. A country category was added 4 years later. Straight celebrities were becoming more vocal about their position on gay rights as well, such as Garth Brooks, who won a 1992 GLAAD Media Award for his song We Shall Be Free.
Together forever, 'cause we shall be free.
The 2000s were an incredibly important time for the dissemination of both bluegrass and gay rights throughout the country. While bluegrass artists were featured on award-winning soundtracks for movies such as Oh Brother Where Art Thou, they also wrote and recorded music for LGBT-themed movies. In 2006, Dolly Parton recorded a song for the film Trans-America and Willie Nelson for Brokeback Mountain. Here's a sample of Dolly's song.
I'm just a weary pilgrim trying to find what feels like home. Where that is, no one can tell me.
This meeting point of gay culture and country and bluegrass in a very public space was important for the reception of LGBT people by the American public. By this time, the queer population in Western states had greatly increased due to more progressive legislation and social atmospheres. Cities such as Seattle have a high LGBT population as well as a large concentration of bluegrass business establishments. The merging of gay culture and bluegrass led several celebrities within the genre to come out in support of LGBT rights. Country singer Shelley Wright came out in 2010 after winning several awards under the perception of being straight, including one from the IBMA in 2002. In 2014, Casey Musgraves won the Song of the Year at the CMA Awards for her gay-friendly song Follow Your Arrow. Here's what it sounds like.
Make lots of noise, kiss lots of boys, kiss lots of girls, if that's something you're into.
A few weeks later, prompted by the public's positive reception to Musgrave's song, artist Ty Herndon came out as gay. This also inspired fellow country singer Billy Gilman to announce that he's gay only one day later. As a reaction to this, Ricky Skaggs said, "I love everybody," and that he hoped Gilman would be accepted by the country community. The growing amount of support within the industry prompted the creation of groups like the Gay Ole Opry, a Brooklyn-based organization that keeps fans up to date with news about queer country bands and shows that take place all over the country. One band, called My Gay Banjo, released their third album in 2014. Here's a sample.
We were country boys in the city, making noise and looking pretty. Now I'm sitting here.
The band says they're part of a small emerging scene of queer country musicians. While stars like Shelley Wright gain notoriety before coming out, openly gay bands like My Gay Banjo have to get their start in a much tougher and smaller market. Although songs like this still exist.
Hey, I turned on the television just to watch the evening news. What I saw made me want to crawl right through that tube. They were talking about a wedding, but they only showed 2 men. So I fired off an email with an invite just for them. Come on down to the farm, come on out to the barn. You won't see 2 roosters walking arm in arm.
It's clear that the industry is moving towards being more vocally welcoming to queer artists. Being invisible in the formative years of bluegrass made it hard for LGBT people to enter a genre so deeply tied to its roots. Nevertheless, the support of popular artists and the visibility of openly gay bluegrass fans is what gives LGBT artists a chance to enter the genre and stand tall.